Okay. Well, man, I've been practicing your name, and you
Okay,
tell me if it's correct or not. Adara Kay.
you are correct.
Thanks, Talbo. Sure, he wasn't screwing with me.
No, it's basically like
Cause go,
I dare you.
you dare, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fitting. That's fitting. Um, yeah, thanks for hopping on the podcast and everything.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
What I read your bio off before you came on, but just a kind of a quick introduction of where you're from and all that stuff, so we don't spend a whole lot of time on it, but at least let everybody know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, my name is Adara Kay. I'm an independent artist from Southern Oklahoma. We like to mix it up a little bit. We're not just country. We're not just rock. We're something we like to call the alternative. So some grit and some grace. We're
Grit and
around
grace.
Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas at the moment.
Yeah. Um, I did some research and everything a little bit, and you had your time in Tennessee as well. That's where I'm in West Tennessee. I'm not in the Nashville crowd right now or anything, um, but still, you spent your time and you spent some time in the Nashville scene.
Did.
When did you move there first thing? I know you started playing when performing when you were really young, but then when you got out of high school and everything, is that when you moved
It was
to
not. It was when
Nashville?
I wanted to move, but I didn't. I promised I'd
Okay,
2 years in state. So I went to University of Central Oklahoma for my first 2 years and got my associates. And then I finished out at Middle Tennessee State in Murfreesboro, Tennessee for my bachelor's.
gotcha. Was all of that music related
It
stuff
was,
even in
yeah.
Oklahoma?
Yeah, so in Oklahoma, at UCO, I was a part of ACM, which is Academy of Contemporary Music. So I was a vocal performance major, and then when I moved to Tennessee, I was a songwriting major with an entrepreneurship in as a minor.
Gotcha. So even when you moved to Middle or from that's Murfreesboro, right? Middle Tennessee, yeah. Were you still playing and everything then? You were gigging and going to school?
Oh yeah, doing
Yeah.
what I could have. When I moved to Tennessee, it was the end of 2019, so I didn't have very long
Uh,
before it shut down. But I was booked pretty much every weekend in songwriters rounds, and they all got canceled up through May of 2020.
so you were in songwriters rounds right off the bat.
I was, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, because that's a different crowd than the playing on Broadway.
Very different crowd, yeah.
Yeah. So that's I don't. I mean, there's nothing wrong with either one. But it's I don't. I guess the songwriters round is a different kind of gratification. I guess, right?
It's a different world for sure. I mean, I did both of them. I played on Broadway and I did the writers' rounds, and it's very, very different. Which it's really cool to do the writers' rounds because people really paid attention to you as an artist and as a songwriter. Whereas Broadway, you're there for the party. You're there for the good time.
Which is probably good to have both of those in your back pocket.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which one did you make more money at?
Oh, I didn't make
Broadway.
anything from writers' rounds.
I gotcha. Unfortunately, that's the way that goes, right?
Yep,
You can make just as much of a living playing cover songs. You got to be stubborn to play your own songs, right?
that's right.
Yeah, that's okay. We're glad you're stubborn, and a lot of other people too, because your story's different, I'm sure, but you got a lot of commonalities with a lot of folks as far as trying to beat down that door. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I still have a lot of buddies that play on Broadway and still doing the solo side as well. So it's really fascinating to see them be successful in both areas.
I bet that is kind of strange as far as they can draw. They could probably travel a little bit and draw a crowd, but then when they go to Broadway, nobody knows who they are really, except for just playing. They just want to hear, Journey or Devil Went Down to Georgia or whatever the generic song would be, you know.
$100 song.
Which okay, so when you were doing that, what was a couple of your $100 songs?
Definitely Devil Went Down to Georgia. That was one of them. And then we had another one, Trey Lewis, Dig Down in Dallas. But we compromised. We were like, we'll do it for $69 instead.
that's that's fitting. That's perfect. Again, those songs cost so much because you get tired of playing them, not because they're bad songs, y'all. I mean, yeah, yeah. Us, it's always like Sweet Home Alabama and Mustang Sally, and there's certain songs. It doesn't matter where you're at. Yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah, that's funny though. As far as I mean, you came in from Oklahoma and you still had to deal with this. You still deal with the same songs that everybody else has to deal with. That's pretty good. So when did you decide to what made you leave Tennessee and go back to Oklahoma?
I was flying home every month for gigs in Oklahoma.
Shit.
And I wasn't making much money out there either. It was basically just playing for free almost because everything broke even or I was spending a little bit of money. But flying home every month really was draining. And I was like, why am I doing this? And then I was talking with WME and they're like, you already have your crowd back home. You might as well move back. Like they told me that I wasn't going to make it in Nashville, which I get it. It's a 10-year town. I understand. But they were like, you'll have to, travel to Kentucky or down to Alabama and start there and work your way in. I was like, well, I already have my followers in my home state. So that was really one of the reasons I came back home.
Who was telling you that you needed that you would have to move out of town to with people in Nashville?
Yeah,
I got you.
WME.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that would make a lot more sense then if you
Yeah.
already had your base there.
Yeah, my
And
band was back home too, so it just made sense.
yeah, I got you. So when you made that move, is that when things really started? As far as you kind of y'all as a band started kicking things in a higher gear?
I think so, yeah. We had to make some transitions. I had to find some new bandmates, which was very difficult, but everybody has to go through it at some point in time. So I'm glad I got that out of the way as soon as possible to understand how to deal with it. And I got very blessed with the band I have today. They work really hard for me, and we just seeing the growth from last year to this year is 100%. So it's interesting to see the growth and the process of that.
So most of the band that you've got about a year under your belt total. I mean, as far as the full band at this point.
Yes, so the full band now, everybody has been with me at least a year now. The
Right.
one that's been with me the longest, he's our bass player, and he's almost 4 years with us now. So
Gotcha. You can't. They're loyal. You just feed them a little bit, and they stick around, right?
they're great. They're the
That's
best.
what I. That's what I. Even in the bar scene, that's what buddies of mine that are bass players. That's what they say. Like you feed us once, and you can't get rid of us at that point in time. So,
Well,
which
my
is
house is his house and vice versa. So
I got you. Um, let's see here. I had some questions in the comments. I want to make sure. Um, some differences between the Oklahoma and Texas scene. Talbot said you're kind of in the middle of all that. So what would be some of the differences between? Because I'm an outsider. I listen to a lot of Red Dirt and Texas country music, but I'm hoping to change this. But I haven't. I've never seen any shows in either one of those areas. So what would be the difference?
there's many differences, and none of them are better than the other.
Right.
Which I mean, every state that you play is going to be different than the other. You got to realize Texas is basically its own country. I can go to one side of the state and then play the next side of the state in the same 2 weeks. But I think Texas is very open to new people coming into the industry and willing to travel a little bit and go out and find new artists, find new music, and they're pretty interactive. We love Texas, which where I live in Oklahoma, I'm right on the Texas border. So it's a great little transition. I'm right in the middle of them.
Is that something that is that a huge difference between Texas and the Tennessee scene? Also, is that it seems like the Texas scene is definitely more open to letting new people in the circle.
I think so. I think Texas is what Tennessee used to be. Now Tennessee is just so oversaturated, and like this, the crowds are still the same. They're still there for a good time, but
Right.
like you said, on Broadway, you're playing covers. In Texas, we can play originals.
Even in those even in those populated areas or popular areas, I guess I should say, you can still play covers. I mean, you
Yes.
can still play originals.
Yeah, we do a little mix and match of both. So we're in Fort Worth this Friday and the Stockyards in Texas, and we will play about 2 hours. So we have a mix of popular cover songs with some unpopular but popular to us as a band, and then all originals.
What are some of your cover songs? What would if we go to hear you in the Stockyards? What's some songs you're gonna play?
We range. Like I said, we're a little
I
y'all.
understand.
So we'll do Separate Ways, Journey. We do a different cover of it. We do Eva Under Fire's cover instead.
Okay.
So it's more rockish. We'll do Me and Mary Jane from Blackstone Cherry. Um,
Speaking of Kentucky guys, right? I
we'll
believe.
do
Pretty
Honky
sure.
Tonk the Donka Donk.
I got you.
East Country, Jason Aldean. I mean, we're all over the place. Here for the Party, Gunpowder and Lead. This is the
Which
typical.
the songs you're naming aren't necessarily what I hear when I listen to your music today. But I'm sure you're not playing those as the radio sounds either. You're changing all those songs up. You're making them more like what you would normally play.
Yeah, yeah. It's very interesting too to see the growth that I've made it as an artist. Seeing like our first EP versus our most recent release. One, my voice is more mature, and two, the band is more mature, and we're figuring the process of the production side out and figuring out who we actually want to be as a band rather than individuals.
Yeah, I could tell that part as far as when you I guess just to let everybody else know, when did you make that? If they go to stream your music on iTunes or Spotify, what's the first album that's going to be on there? As far as what was your first material on Spotify and everything?
My first material was Chevy, Get Out of Dodge, and She's in Trouble. Those were my first two single releases, and they are that 90s, early 2000s country feels. And then we have A
How
Girl Can
long
Be
ago was that?
Heard. 2018,
Gotcha,
2018,
gotcha.
2019. Yeah, so
So a lot's
quite a
changed
while
since
ago.
then. Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand. Um, and you were talking about you've had this band for about a year now, and you're recording with this band
Yes.
now.
Now,
I
yeah.
got you.
So the only two members that I've played on previous material were my bass player and guitar player. Other than that, my keyboard and drummer have not played on anything yet. So we're excited to have their styles put on these next few tracks.
Yeah, yeah, because you've got time with them now, right? So when you go and record, it's going to be as close to your live sound as you can get at this point, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure you're excited for that.
I'm so excited.
Especially if you seem to be pretty proud of with the current situation and lineup and everything. So I'm sure trying to get that on tape is a priority.
It is definitely, we are in the process of getting certain things done.
Gotcha. What I guess what's coming up for you as far as new music or anything? Do you have stuff already in line, or is that kind of fluid at the moment, or what?
I have a release coming out in September, and this will be like the end of an era. So this was some of my old members that were still in the band beforehand. We've had the song in the back pocket for about 2 years, so we're ready to get that out. It's called Wild Card. September 20th is the release date. And then after that, we are already recording a couple songs at the moment that we're going to do a little rebrand and
Hmm.
figure things out in 2025.
Gotcha, gotcha. Um, so yeah, you have the song Wild Card. And I was told that you may be willing to do a song or two. Is that one that you're able to do solo?
Yeah, I can play wild card for you.
Well, I was gonna wait till later, but we got there. So let's if you don't mind, we can go ahead and play that.
Yeah, might as well.
Cool.
And I will post the link as soon as possible for the pre-saves of it. But again, September 20th is when this one's coming out. Little Texas, little Tennessee, smooth wild child, Jack Honey. I can dress it up in a pretty black label, like the bottle on the table. Wildflower on the side of the road, back road that'll lead you home. I can dress it down like my small town, the stop sign decorated bullet hole. So drag on some spirits, just a few puffs to catch my breath, rolling around like a rolling stone, a place that you call your home. 'Cause I'm a blackjack poker on a little rainstorm with breezy sun. What you see ain't always what you get. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Wildflower on the side of the road, back road that'll lead you home. What you see ain't always what you get. A long slow drag on some spirits, just a few puffs to catch my breath. What you see ain't always what you get. Tennessee, smooth wild child, Jack Honey. I can dress it up in a pretty black label, like the bottle on the table.
Hell yeah, that's a good one, man.
Thank you.
Had all kind of comments down there. So I like that. I like a lot about that song, but the line that a few puffs to catch my breath. That's a good one. As a few people ask, what kind of guitar are you playing?
This is a Taylor, a good old Taylor guitar. So, but she's a 314.
Gotcha. There you go, Jude. Um, so was that? I know, Talbot. That's yeah. Uh, um, is that one that you've had in your pocket for a while, or is that a new? Have you wrote that one recently?
No, that one's been in my pocket for about maybe 3 years now. And then we went in about 2 years ago and did the production side, and so it's just been sitting there. We've just been waiting, figuring out the right time.
How do you? I know that this I don't know if there's a correct answer to this, but how do you know when things are the right time
You
these
don't.
days? You don't.
You don't.
You
It's
just
trial and error,
just winging it.
pretty much.
What made you want to kind of wait on that then?
Mm, that's
The
hard.
band, having the band together, and just
I don't really know. I've sat on this one for a while, and I guess it never felt like a right time to release it. But I don't know. Something was just holding me back from releasing it until finally I was like, okay, we're playing it in our set. We have for over a year now. People recognize it when they hear it. They've seen me or heard me play it on TikTok. I was like, it's probably time now. So
now that it could be on the greatest hits album, right?
yeah, there we
We should
go.
probably release it. um, I like to ask these questions. I don't want to, in fear of repeating the same questions with everybody. I still think it's interesting to hear everybody's point of view from this. When you play, I'm assuming you've opened for people along the way and things like that, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
when you're opening for somebody and you know most of the crowd doesn't know you, hasn't heard your sound or anything like that, but when you start to play and you see those lights go off for people, when you can tell that somebody's digging what you're doing, how does that feel to you? And then even when they like meet you at the merch table or whatever after the fact, how is that? I guess I try to answer this. I try to ask this question because I want people to understand what it means to people when they're out on the road, because it can get pretty discouraging at times like that. So when they meet at the merch table and they come and say something, how much that actually matters.
It's funny because it really does feel like the world to you. You really see people engaging with you or being able to feel what you're singing or saying, and that, I mean, that's something you don't get unless you are vulnerable. Being an artist, you are. Being human, you're pretty vulnerable as it is. But when people come up and talk to me at the merch booth or even buy just a single koozie or a sticker or something, like it's huge because I'm like, oh, they really did enjoy our sets. And they might realize, like, oh, the band that we just opened for, they started out where we were.
Hmm.
And, everybody starts from somewhere, and most of the time it's at the bottom, and you just have to work your way to the top.
Yeah, definitely. Can you when you're on stage, are you do you notice when people are you kind of in the zone and in your own world, or do you notice when people are picking up what you're laying down?
I notice when people pick up what I'm putting down. I think the first time I really took notice in it, we played the Zach Bryan street party at the BOK last August, and there's people in the crowd singing our songs. I'm like, oh, they've heard of us, they've listened to us. And then they came up and were like, oh, we seen you guys play at this venue, and we followed you here. And I'm like, it was huge. It was a huge moment to realize the growth that we were actually making, rather than just staying, stagnant or plateaued out. Like, we're still on the rise.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And those are probably the people that's going to be sharing your stuff and
I hope
promoting
so.
or whatever. And I'm sure you'd love to see the numbers rise or whatever on online, but it's hard to put a face with a username or a stat on Spotify or whatever. That's a handshake and a
Oh, yeah.
face to face.
It's very different. So if they want an autograph or a picture, I'm all for it. I will sit there until the last person is gone from my table.
Yeah, I'm sure that that's a pretty that's where the rewarding parts come into all that. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what have you had any of those moments where somebody meets you in person and kind of explains what like your music would mean, or one of your songs or something like that, where it kind of hit the heartstrings too, besides just being thankful?
I have actually. They've one of our recent releases, which I say recent, but it's been about a year now. Take a chance on me, and it's about being vulnerable and taking a chance on either your partner or taking a chance on God or even yourself, and just putting yourself out there and hoping anybody else takes one on you. And somebody told me that that song saved them, and I didn't even know how to react to it because I've never experienced that. That was the first time. And then I realized how special music truly is. Like I realized it from a different perspective.
Well, I'm sure you've felt those songs before
Yeah,
from other people,
absolutely.
but then to have it said back to you is a whole nother, is a different ball game.
It's a whole different perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, because that I guess that would mean they're not just partying to your music. They're listening to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, so you kind of you did the Broadway thing where you're that's where you're working on the performance side of it. You did songwriters rounds and college and everything on your songwriter side. Um, which one is more home for you? Are you a performer first, songwriter first?
I would say I'm more of the performer first. I love engaging with people and entertaining. I've always done that. Being an only child, I would perform for our families at family gatherings or even for our school. I wasn't afraid to put myself out there and perform in front of the entire school.
Right.
So I think I'm more of the performer first, but I've always written songs. I started writing songs at such a young age, not even knowing, more so poems. So underneath, like I do have like the soft side of writing and a huge appreciation for writing.
Which one is more nerve-wracking for you, to stand up in front of people and sing a rowdy song, or to release a new baby like that?
It is songwriting. It's the release because you don't know how people are going to take it, and you're like people from your hometown. They're like, "Who's this song about?" Like, and it might not be about anybody. It might just be
Yeah,
something I made up in my head, but it's still like that reaction of how are people going to take this? And
yeah. Or will there be a reaction at all? At all? Right. Um, a birdie in the chat down there said to talk about the Rick Springfield story. What's the Rick Springfield story?
the Rick Springfield story. So my dad took me to a Rick Springfield concert. I was about 7 or 8 years old. And, I was performing just for family functions. And Rick actually pulled me up on stage to sing Don't Talk to Strangers. And that was the first realization of I knew I had to do that for the rest of my life. That adrenaline, I didn't know what that was as a 7 year old, but feeling the drum beat underneath my feet throughout my entire body. People were like having some lighters in front of my face, not just a phone. That was the realization where I was like, I need this. This is going to be my drug that I want to have. And so that's the Rick Springfield story. That was the first moment where I absolutely knew.
Um, Talbot points out that pretty sure Rick was a stranger also. So,
He was,
uh,
yeah. Good for you.
um, so I guess when you started all that, when you realized that's what you wanted to do, what did you start doing even as a kid like that? What was that next? You still, like, as far as you were still doing family functions and all that. Did you ever play out in front of anybody else at a young age, or when did that start?
I was in choir and I would do the solos in choir. So that put me in front of people, I had to go down in this horrible looking dress for choir and sing in front of hundreds of people. And then I started being a singing waitress at about 15. And so I would go around, be a waitress, and then hop on stage and sing for whoever was all the customers.
Where did that happen? I've never been to that kind of establishment. Where does this
Yeah.
happen at?
There's many different places. This one was a hometown restaurant called Cattle Rustlers. Unfortunately, it's not there anymore, but that was one of my first jobs was a singing waitress.
I mean, that sounds like a pretty good paying job, right?
It was fun. It was, I
Yeah.
don't know about the pay,
Is
but it was
that-
fun.
so that even at that time that didn't bother you. That was natural.
I got nervous, but I still get nervous every time
Gotcha.
before we get on stage. I get nervous, but I think nerves are good. I think nerves show how much you actually care. Like if I don't get nervous, that's when I'm like, okay, I might need to hang it up or reevaluate what I'm actually doing. But
You're
I think nerves,
mailing it in at that point.
yeah, I think nerves really showcase you want it.
That you're excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because is that the nerves factor for you because you're excited, not necessarily because you're afraid of it?
I think the
Or
nerves are more adrenaline. Like I'm just
right,
like anxious to be on stage, anxious to get out there and to, start the show and then be able to see the crowd and kind of relax, being like, okay, they're enjoying it now. Like we can breathe.
um, how how is that different for you? Just I guess doing say like an acoustic show to having the band behind you now, especially you kind of got some time with these guys. So how is that different for you?
I will choose a full band show over an acoustic show any
Just
day of the week.
is that have you know I'm sure you've done those shows, right? Those more laid back shows and everything. Is it easier to win over a crowd with the rowdy band behind you, or is
It is with my band. Yeah, it's easier to win the crowd over with the band. There's been certain places where, and I still play acoustic, to be able to afford my band. But
right?
during the
Understand.
acoustic shows, a lot of times I feel like I'm background noise. So but when I do tell like certain stories, then you start seeing them engage a little bit more. But it is harder to win over a crowd acoustic, especially if you're at a bar. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's easier to have that engagement with your full band behind you.
If you're in a rowdy environment and you're playing an acoustic,
Yeah.
yeah, they want to hear something they can dance to, and you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that?
Yep. I was like, okay, I guess we're doing Redneck Woman.
I've got about four of these. This is one of them. Yeah, understand completely. That's always kind of mind-boggling when you're playing an acoustic and they want to hear something they can dance to. But either way, um, so as far as with the band behind you and everything like that, um, you said you're getting in line to write or to record music with your current band. Um, when is that gonna happen for you? Do you know?
We've started on one.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. You told me. Yeah.
Everything's pretty much done except for vocals. We need to go back in and redo our vocals. They were a little rough on my
Uh-huh.
end, so we got to go back in and fix that. And then we have another one. We try to work it up during rehearsals or try to sit down for writing sessions and make sure we have everything as the way we want it, and then we'll go into the studio so we're not just wasting time.
Are you already playing those songs out?
We're playing one right now. Yeah, we're playing one, and that's the one that's the closest to being finished.
So when you're playing songs like that and you have plans on recording them, are you kind of testing that out every night to see how you want to change, everybody's parts and just critiquing it every night?
Pretty much, yeah. You figure out maybe a different vocal run or maybe a different guitar lead or maybe a couple hits here and there from the drums. So, I mean, it is, like I said, it's all trial and error, but the more we play it, the more we get comfortable with it, then we can start adding some different factors.
Is that something where all the other guys are kind of naturally contributing ideas on that at that part
Oh yeah,
now?
these guys are great. They're
Yeah.
fantastic.
Has that kind of came more as time as the more miles you have under y'all now? Is that are they opening up more about those ideas as time goes?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it takes a while to have an understanding of a person. I mean, you constantly learn new things, new personalities, what bugs them. You figure out how to push their buttons a little bit. But, spending as much time together as we do, I mean, I see them at least once or twice a week for rehearsals or for shows. You have a better understanding of the next person standing beside you. And we're starting to get a little bit more comfortable where I will know what my bass player is about to play before he even plays it.
Understand.
Yeah.
That's when things are start. That's when the connection's getting good, though.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
that's where we're seeing the growth of not just the full band shows, but also in our songwriting.
You co-write with everyone also.
We've just recently started that. So we have three of them right now that we're working on and a couple more.
Have you co-wrote with other people along the way before this, or is this new to you?
Not very many. At Middle Tennessee, since I was a songwriting major, we did have to do a lot of co-writes. And then doing writers' rounds and stuff, I did co-writes there. So, like Parking Lots, which is one of our top songs, I co-wrote with Olivia Floyd from Southern Missouri, but we were both at MT at the same time. We got paired up together. So that's one of my favorite songs that I've co-written for sure.
How is that process of co-writing for you? Is that a work in progress, or are you pretty comfortable with that, or?
It's a work in progress. Definitely a work in progress. But I mean, I'm open to try out anything. So like
Gotcha.
if people bring me ideas, I'm like, okay, well, let's see what we can do with it. Like I'll throw my ideas, and it's really difficult to not shoot an idea down. Like you have to really pick your words wisely so you don't discourage.
Yeah,
So that
understand.
is a work in progress, but at the end of the day, I'm a work in progress.
Understood completely. When you're writing, are you pretty much writing for you in mind, or are you just writing for the song and then figure that part out later, or?
I think it's a mix. I really do. I think Parking Lots and Take a Chance on Me, those are the two songs that I think I relate to the most out of any of them I've written. I think Don't Have a Prayer was just a fun little funky song that I decided to co-write with Andrew Casey. We had a guitar riff in mind, and we just started writing words and figuring out a story of its own. So
So
it's
you
it's
kind
a
of
it's a good guess for people to be like, oh, is this story true?
all right. So when you are writing like that, you can. Are you writing? I guess my question would be, are you writing to try to finish the songs and then figure out if it's for you, or do you kind of know that from the get go if it's a you song, or you just want to complete this song?
I have some that I'm like, oh, I really want to cut that. But then I have a few others where it's like, I feel like this would fit for somebody else. Like
Yeah.
maybe a different singer, maybe a different songwriter. Like take it, run with it. Let's see what we can come up with. But there's a few where I have a really close tie to, and I'm like, I need to cut this one immediately.
Mr. Jeff Canada in the comments there, he said, "Do you write with an audience in mind, or for yourself first?"
I honestly think I write for myself first. I was always into writing fiction stories as a kid or poems or something, making up stories as I go. And so I think a lot of it would just, it's like a storybook. I mean, that's really what it is. It's like a novelist creating the story from scratch, not thinking of anybody in mind necessarily. When we do think of the crowd, we think of the beats or what guitar lead we could do, a solo or something like that. That's when the crowd factor plays a part.
do you think your writing has changed as far as thinking about the show now that you have the band?
Tremendously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I could see that, especially when it's a band that you're proud of. You know, you want to highlight. Now you know what the guys do. I mean, I'm sure they're professional musicians, so they do a lot of things well. But you know their flavors now, and
Yes.
highlight what what's them. I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all come from different backgrounds of music history, so it's really cool to see all of those factors play into a part in us figuring it out together.
Well, I'll ask about some of the music that you got started with and growing up on. But do you want to do another song,
I can.
or do you have one that you're comfortable with doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see.
You mentioned that a couple of them there that you were proud of. I didn't know if one of those would be ones you would want to do, but it's open floor. You pick.
Let's see here. So this one, it's not released. I don't know if this one's for me. I wrote it about me, but it might be a better fit for somebody else. I don't know. We'll figure it out as the time goes.
Ladies
But
and gentlemen, Devil went down to Georgia.
I wish I wrote that. But this one's called I Drive. They say home is where the heart is. Guess I kinda right since I left pieces of mine scattered all along the highway, buried in the cracks down the back roads. Said once you leave, you'll come back. But for me, it ain't as simple as that. And so I drive, trying to clear my mind. I drive past the memories of you and I, to an old song, to an old spot. I turn the car around and I drive right out of that damn old town. They say time heals the heartache, but they don't tell you how long it's gonna take. So I packed my bags and I left it all behind in the review. Every time I come back, the memories flood. Then I'm reminded while I'm still on the run. So I drive, trying to clear my mind. I drive past the memories of you and I, to an old song, to a old spot. I turn the car around and I drive right out of that damn old town. And I drive. Yeah.
I need some applause noises. I need to step my game up on that. It's hard for me to be, one person with the slow clap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great song for sure. Thank you for playing those.
Absolutely.
Um, so I have a question. I see the Hank Jr. album there, right? Is that
Yeah,
what that is?
it is.
What's the other one? The
So,
one right above the Stones' lips.
yeah, okay. So this is Hannah Wickland.
Okay.
If you have not heard of her, go check her out. She is a badass. We had the opportunity to open up for her back in March at Beer City in Oklahoma City. And she was the sweetest soul. She is so freaking amazing. She dates one of the people from Greta Van Fleet. She plays guitar, she plays the piano, she writes all of her stuff, and her voice is just fantastic.
I've never heard of it before, but
Go
I'll
check her
go
out.
check.
She is
Yes,
so good.
that's cool. Um, so that was one of those times where did you know who she was before that? Before you
No.
got no?
No, I did
No.
not. They offered us the support slots, and I immediately looked her up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, she is one of my favorite new artists now." Like, I'm so glad we had this opportunity.
Did that seem like a pretty good match with her crowd and your crowd like that?
That was one of my favorite shows that we have played. It was so fun. The crowd was so interactive, even with the supporting artist, us. They bought merch. They waited in line. She got some stuff. We took pictures. She took the time to kind of tell her story to us, and that was probably one of my favorite shows that we've ever played.
That's great. Great to hear. I'm sure you've had your share of other ones that, their crowd and your crowd didn't necessarily, it
Yeah.
didn't click as well or whatever. Because you definitely don't have a dance hall sound as far as you and your band. So,
Nope.
is that I guess is that something that you or your team kind of thinks of ahead of time as far as who you would pair for like that? Is that
So, I mean, starting out, it's very difficult to, figure out what genre you're going to be, especially
understand?
at 18, 17, 18, 19 years old, and then realizing what kind of artist you actually want to be, and trying to wean out of a certain reputation, I guess, or a certain category. Like, I love the Texas scene, I love the Red Dirt scene, but I do feel us more as a Southern rock rather than a honky tonk.
Yeah.
I mean, we still play them because they're a good time regardless. We do play. We add some songs in that will fit some venues more than the others, and then but when it's us headlining, we try to play as us.
Well, okay. So if somebody's going to come to your show that doesn't know anything about you, what would you describe your sound as? Is that easy to do or is
I
that
mean, we're
not?
definitely we got some twang to us. I mean, I have a country background. Growing up, I listened to Hank Jr. and then Johnny Cash, Patsy Cline. But then I also have Journey, Poison. Like I have the rockers on the other
I was
side,
going
so
to
I
say
have a good mix.
I see a lot of black t-shirts and black pants and stuff too. So that
Yeah, so I mean, if you're coming to see like a honky tonk show, we have some songs that fit that for you, but we're gonna be some rockers. You'll still be able to dance, you'll still be able to enjoy it, and be just as entertained.
there seems like that's getting to be it's seen on its own. Does that make sense as far as not everybody's wearing throwback '90s clothes and you know what I mean? There seems to be a scene where you can rock out with country music
Fun.
these days.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
there?
you have Co Wetzel, you have them Dirty Roses, Austin Mead. He plays some country venues, but the dude is very alternative at the same time. You have Giovanni
Mhm.
the Hired Guns, which I mean, all of these are Texas artists that are starting to expand. Which I mean, not Dirty Roses, but they started out.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand what you mean. Does that kind of open doors for you as far as your sound, or make you, I guess, realize that you can do it?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, my favorite compliment that I get at shows is there's nobody else that sounds like you, or there's nobody else that does shows like you guys. And I mean, like, I will take that any day. Like, yes, I could be your next Miranda Lambert or Gretchen Wilson, but there's already a Gretchen Wilson or a Miranda. I was like, I'm gonna be a Adara Kay. It was like, I'll take that any
I
day.
I asked that before you came on if anybody if your style your songs reminded anybody of anyone else and because I didn't you know sometimes you just naturally hear little parts of someone and remind you of somebody. But when I asked that question, it was crickets. nobody nobody said these that you sounded like anybody else. So um, that's you know that's like you said that's a kudos moment when you know when that happens. I'm sure you wouldn't mind being compared to
I actually
Patsy
have a
Cline or whatever the case would
Yeah.
be, but
I actually have a notes that just started this year, and it's called Comparisons of 2024, and it's all the people I've been compared to this year,
uh
and
oh.
it's and how many times, and it's been insane. Like, I mean, I've gotten Joan Jett, I've gotten Carrie Underwood, I've gotten Taylor Momsen from The Pretty Reckless, or Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm. So I mean,
which is
it's all over.
which is I can no, I don't see the Carrie Underwood or the Lindsay Hale or
Yeah.
I don't see some of those anyway that's because some of those well I mean Lindsay doesn't have a country sound at all
No.
at
And
all
neither does our live shows. Our live shows are very, very different than what you hear on stream platforms.
right but yeah I don't see that anyway that's what makes I'm sure it's entertaining though
It is. Yeah.
it is just
100%. I love
what do you
I
what
love
do you
things
do?
like
Just smile and be like, okay, yeah. Well, thank you.
yeah, I had I had one, she was like, "You remind me of Aretha Franklin." And I'm like, "Okay." Thank you.
Did you say I respect that?
I respect that.
I was like, oh, darling, you make me feel like a natural woman. Uh, well, we'll let you get out of here in a few minutes. But as far as what was some music that you grew up around? We know Rick Springfield apparently, but what music was in your household when you were growing up?
Anything and everything. I mean,
That's
definitely.
cool.
I try to copy Patsy Cline's voice and how she sang along with Leanne Rhymes for a long time. I would try to cover Blue or Crazy, especially like as the singing waitress. Those were like two of my favorite artists to cover. And then, we had Hank Jr., we had Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard was one of my favorites growing up. And then on the other side, we had Bon Jovi, Bryan Adams, Journey, Poison. So, I mean, anything and everything.
What about was the Springfield moment? Was that your first concert, or what was your first concert?
I believe that was my first concert, yeah,
What was the first concert that you paid to go see?
that I paid to go see.
Hmm.
Hmm. I was probably already in high school. But I remember paying like $25 to see Whiskey Myers, Co Wetzel, and Reed South Hall here in Ardmore. And now I
And
can't touch their tickets. I can't afford
exactly,
it.
exactly. Well, and it wouldn't be a small venue for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would. I don't. Yeah, I've seen Whiskey Myers in a small venue years ago, but yeah, I don't think you could. I'm trying to think of what venue that would be, what size venue that would be even here would probably still be one of the 15,000 seat or
Yeah.
20,000 seat places. So
Yeah, that definitely was not this place, but
about what time period was that? What
2014, maybe
I
2014,
gotcha.
15, maybe a
Gotcha.
freshman, sophomore in high school.
So yeah, okay. So just this is just another little example. Not necessarily for you, but um, just for people in the chat to realize. You said what around 2014, something like that, right? And she's talking about Co Wetzel in 2014, and he blew up how many years? I mean, where he was more. I guess he's probably been known in Texas longer than everywhere else. But when he really caught and blew up was what 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. So you're still looking at almost 10 years. You know what I mean? Or it took a while.
It's
So
insane.
yeah,
It's definitely not an easy chosen career path.
I guess that's. I just wanted to point that out. That I know you're not exclusive to seeing Coetzel at a small venue. I'm sure a lot of people did at one point in time, but I don't think people realize that you know how long that grind can be.
It's forever.
Forever.
It's forever.
Uh, what about I guess another quick question. Any crazy stories from the road or anything like that? Any crazy things that happened to you, or has it been pretty tame for the most part?
I've signed some underwears. I've signed my first boob recently. That was cool.
Well, congratulations.
You thank you.
Who needs a Grammy?
Yeah. I fell on stage. That was interesting.
Hmm.
That was
It,
difficult. My guitar player tried to pick me up with his foot while playing a solo. I was like, just leave me here. I'll be fine.
uh, what about on the road as far as like traveling? Any major issues or crazy people that
My man,
any danger?
my bass player, he is, you never know what's going to come out of his mouth or what he's going to do. I can't ever, I figure him out a little bit. I can read his mind. I know his next moves on stage, but sitting next to him, I'm like, what are you about to say? It's
Uh-oh.
just the craziest things, but all good things.
But no dangerous moments or
No,
crazy
not
characters on the
yet.
road. Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Yeah,
Knock on wood. I
well,
mean,
that's good. That's good. That means you haven't been to West Tennessee yet.
no, we have not. We have not.
From what I hear, Cody Canada and Adam Hood and several people have nice stories about Memphis. So that's I'm glad to know my town gets around.
Yeah.
Uh, making memorable stories for these artists as they come through town.
Yeah,
Um,
I had one, but it was just me. I was at a writer's round over at Belcourt Taps in Nashville before it's not Belcourt Taps anymore. But some of my friends came to watch me, and their vehicle got broken into, like when every window smashed. That was a little crazy.
that makes you feel good about inviting them to come hear you,
I felt
right?
so bad,
I bet so.
so bad.
Uh, yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, that seems to happen a lot these days.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so we have the most important question of the night.
Okay.
All right. Everybody's been reminding me in the chat. I had it tonight. I didn't forget. What is your favorite Little Debbie cake?
Hmm. I really like the Star Crunches. Are those little Debbie's?
Yeah, you're
Okay, I
you're
was
right.
like, I really like
That's
the Star
that's a
Crunch.
no, 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 no. You got it. One of our co-hosts is very anti Star Crunch. So
Oh,
um,
that's
I,
unfortunate.
I- yeah, it's okay. He'll get over it.
I like the zebra cakes too.
There you go. That's a really popular one. I think
Yeah.
the most popular is zebra cakes and Christmas tree cakes, which
Christmas
there's
trees
a there's
are,
a whole nother debate whether they're actually the same or not.
and I like the old cosmic brownies. Like they did something to them after, 2017, 2018. Their recipe changed, and I don't like them anymore. They taste like wax. But before then, that was my favorite as a kid.
Gotcha. You, things that you're only here. So yeah, that's the tough, hard-hitting questions right there.
I love it.
Um, all right. Well, I appreciate you hopping on the show and everything. What do you have? Is there any other things that we didn't touch on that want to make sure any announcements or housekeeping that we should get to?
Yeah. I mean, we have some shows coming up. So, Okies, Texans, come see shows. We're in the Stockyards this Friday and down by Houston or down by Austin and Round Rock, Texas on Saturday. Next week, we're going to be on Lake Texoma with the Great Divide. So, that'll be really fun. And then the 23rd and 24th, we're going to be with Jarrett Ray Reddick of Bowling for Soup. we get it open for him in Tahlequah and Elk City, Oklahoma.
I've been seeing a lot of his advertisements or whatever for some reason, and it took me a minute to recognize. Like I recognized the face, I just couldn't put where I knew it from, and then like I think it made me go to his profile, and then I saw the Bowling for Soup. Like it took a minute. Um, so yeah, make sure you go follow her on all of our streaming platforms wherever you listen to your music. And what other socials? Where else can they find you?
Instagram, Facebook. I don't really get on Twitter
Oh,
or X hardly at all,
Twitter X, yeah,
whatever that is. And
yeah,
then my website has everything as well, our shows, merch, and some streaming platforms that you can find us on: Apple, Spotify, Deezer, Napster, YouTube, Google, Amazon. There's so many. We
Well,
just
you
click
did
on the
good naming
boxes.
them. All right, so definitely go follow whatever you're on. Go follow her. Engage in the post. Don't just scroll past them. Don't just look at it and then go, oh, that's nice, and don't do anything. Hit the heart button so
Yeah.
that it shows. Because believe it or not, it makes a huge difference whether their stuff shows up on someone else's feed. Every time you like something, comment, share it helps multiply who's gonna see their stuff. So especially on TikTok, and but really anywhere you run across the stuff, engage with it.
Please.
Say something stupid in the comments. It doesn't matter what it is. Just just say something. So
Yeah.
all right, all right. I'm off of that. So
Okay, I have one more thing to say.
okay.
I would really appreciate it for whoever is watching. We are in the running for America's Next Top Hitmaker at the moment. We are currently in the top 10, which is fantastic. So what this is we have an opportunity to be featured in the Rolling Stone magazine, win 10 grand, and perform down in Austin, Texas. So we need all the votes possible. You can go to the website. I will have a link in my bio as well, in the link tree where you can go to and vote. You can vote every 24 hours. And we are currently second in our group. And cuts are, I think, are tomorrow for the top 5.
I got you. When is this? When's it over?
I have no idea. Maybe
No,
a
no.
couple of more weeks. I think a
I
couple more
got you.
weeks.
It's over when they say it's over.
No,
Okay,
we're still
so
in the running.
no matter when you hear this, go check it out and vote anyway. So, um, yeah, thank you, Tanya, for putting that in there. Make sure you go to. You're gonna have it up on your TikTok profile, right? Is that what you
Yeah,
said? In
I'll
your
get that
link
link.
tree. Gotcha. Go to her profile, go to the link tree. It may say something, may have some kind of warning. It's okay. It's not spam. Just hit the OK button. And it'll take you to her page with all of the socials and where to stream your music from, all in one stop shop.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. It was
Yes,
good to
sir.
talk to you.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
all right. Well, thank you again. And the songs you did were great. Those are really good. I'll try to get this edited and up pretty quick, especially with the contest and everything. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, all right. Well, I'm gonna say good night. But like I said, I appreciate the time. Is there anything else that I can help promote or whatever along the way? Definitely send it my way. I don't mind
All right.
adding it to the story or whatever the case is. So,
I will let you know. Thank you.
all right, no problem. Have a good evening.
You too. See you
We'll
later.
play some more of your songs for a few minutes.
Please do. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right. Bye.
My squeaky mic stand.